So you're used to doing more behind the scenes kind of work for the radio station.
Well, I have a coworker who does everything for the radio station, and I'm just like keeping people organized and in the calendar updated.
How long have you been doing that?
I've worked there for like 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you like it?
Yeah. Good stuff.
And this was KZZH.
KZZH. 96.7 FM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Casual shout out.
I know, right? There you go.
You have to plug your stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's all part of the fun.
Yeah.
So Mo,
Yeah.
what were you going to say?
I was going to say, so you hit me up.
Yes. Yes, I did. In regards to Black Humboldt.
Yeah.
Well, first off, you're an outside person, which I felt like we should include. How long did COVID kind of freak you out? Were you locked down pretty tight?
Yeah, I have a newborn baby.
Oh, okay.
And another young child, and we had the privilege to work from home, so I was like, we're just gonna lock it down so these kids don't get sick. And then, my younger son could get vaccinated because he's 8, and then I got vaccinated, and newborn baby drinks antibody breast milk. So now we're like a little more lenient and trying to come outside, trying to do something.
Is this your first big outing then?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you've been going outside a little bit. You've gotten out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been going to places, yeah.
Perfect timing because the weather's just starting to get nice now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, Black Humboldt. How did that all start? Because you were the co-founder of that, right?
Yeah. So I'm originally from the East Coast, and I'm a transplant, and I had moved here and was super reserved and like kind of living away from the community for a while. And then my younger son needed to start school, so I started, trying to acclimate to the community and like see what was going on. And I just was not seeing any Black people, and I was like, oh man, like where are all the Black people? And I went to a dance class at Hellsport with a great community member. They no longer live here, unfortunately, but they were hosting a dance class, and I was like, I'm going to go to this. I went. It was amazing, and I met another community member, another Black woman, Deanna, who was founded Black Humboldt with me. And she just like came right up to me and was like, yo, what's up? Like, what do you do here for fun? I'm not from here, and I'm like struggling to find my community. And I was like, oh man, I'm not from here either, but I'm having a similar issue. Like we should just be friends. And we kept running into each other at the gym, and Deanna finally was like, I know you have like a nonprofit arts background. Like, can you help me kind of get this idea I have organized? And she told me what she was thinking, and she was like, let's just like put it on social media, like be like, we're having an exclusive event for Black folks, anyone who identifies as Black or part Black or, whatever, and meet us here. And that's what we did. And we would just, buy some appetizers. And the first time we met up, we got an ally to share their space with us. And then we started like doing some research on Black-owned businesses in the area, and that kind of like sparked some other things that came up for us later with having the mixers like at these Black-owned businesses.
An ally being a Black-owned business?
No. So when I say ally, I mean like someone from outside of our community doing something to support our community. So in this case, it was just like a white community member that Deanna knew.
Did a lot of people show up to that first meeting?
Yeah. We were just more kind of like, we were like, oh, it's going to be like a networking mixer. And so people can like share their business or like, get connected for a job or something. And so we like weren't sure what to do, but we ended up like playing speed dating kind of game where everyone spoke to each other, and like it ended up being fun. We played music. And like now we just show up places. Like we were so worried about there being like an agenda or something.
Like having a set schedule
Yeah.
you guys should follow when you do meet up.
Yeah. But we got rid of that. Now we just kick it.
And when did that start? When was the birth of all this?
So April 2018.
Okay. So it's been a few years.
Yeah. It's been a while. It seems like yesterday.
I bet. were you guys still meeting up prior to COVID? And then COVID probably put a halt on that for a minute.
Yeah. Well, we started meeting virtually
Oh,
during
okay.
COVID.
Over Zoom?
Yep, which was cool. And we did like a handful of like online events, which was cool because we could connect with, especially like Deanna and I are from different communities. It was cool to be like, come friends from other places and like come to my event and meet my new community.
So the idea was just to find kind of a Black community within Eureka and
Yeah, or
come
all of
together.
Humboldt, really. I feel like we exist in some pretty impressive numbers in this area considering, but we're also spread out. So that was another part of COVID. Like there was a man that called in from like Garberville and he was like, "Hey, I like am never in your area. So I never get to come, but like I see you guys and I want to connect." So that was cool to give him space to like join us.
And so it started out of a desire to start this community, and now it's kind of grown into everybody just being friends, or you guys just working together to support Black businesses, or what? What has it morphed
Yeah.
into?
I mean, I guess it's really just us connecting everybody and then also being a platform for like resources and like the development of Black businesses is really important, especially being like a micro community here. So we've kind of always had that premise because when Deanna and I first moved here, it was like those few Black businesses where like we were holding on to them. Like, where do I get my hair care products? Where can I eat some food that reminds me of home? Like, there was only a few of those places. So I was like going to those businesses being like, hey, is my community around here? So having that personal value, we like translated that into a lot of the work that Black Humboldt does. So we do a lot, yeah, for Black businesses and then just connecting the community to the resources.
Was there any foundation for that prior to you guys starting Black Humboldt? Was there any other organization that was kind of pulling people together? Or that was pretty unique to when you guys started it?
I would say that, most nonprofits do that, right, in some capacity. There just hadn't been, or excuse me, no one had communicated the need for a hub for Black and Brown community members. And I think it's just because we have such small numbers, we have like a vast Indigenous community. So we know there are like a handful of organizations that are firsthand and a part of that community doing work for them. And same thing with like the Spanish speaking community. They have like some pretty prominent resources or groups that are for them, quote unquote.
Why quote unquote?
Well, because I feel like it's not, there's like,
it's not promoted.
It blurs. All those lines blur, right? But barriers don't really exist, but, we imagine them. But it's like a blurred thing,
Barriers in terms of
who their resources are for or who they support.
Kind of like it's more
like it's like for Black Humboldt, we say like we serve the Black and Brown community, but we will never not serve somebody in need if that translates.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You saying that just made me think of something. When I was reading your guys' web page, you guys host a lot of events, right? It said on your website that some of those spaces aren't inclusive to white people.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's
okay,
correct.
so walk me through that.
Yeah, so
what was the line of thinking there? Because I'm guessing that was pretty intentional.
Oh, it's absolutely intentional. It's like kind of all we do. But so I mean that just comes from personal experiences of needing space that is just for people of, similar identities, right? Because exclusive spaces exist in lots of different parameters. We have like mother support clubs and country clubs, exclusive spaces exist. But for us, it's specifically being such a small percentage of a majority white area, it gets tiring being the only Black person in a room or the only woman in a room or, the only handful of people of color that have experienced things that I've experienced. So you intentionally create a space where we just meet so that we can talk about those experiences without, of any fear of judgment or feeling the need that people I'm with won't understand what I have to bring to the table, so I just kind of like sit quietly in the room. So along those lines of feeling safe and wanting to speak on your experiences.
And the choice to exclude white people is because they can't relate to those experiences.
So our exclusive events exclude anyone who doesn't identify as African American or Black or like Afro-Latine or from within the African diaspora.
Okay, so you couldn't be Chinese or Mexican.
Exactly. So it's exclusively for the Black experience, and the 7 separation links of separation that come with like the term Black.
Have you gotten any pushback from that?
I mean, we get that all the time.
Just in general, because of your organization.
Well, I think just because people, one, belonging to a dominant identity, you're not used to things not being accessible for you. So that's frustrating. And then people often feel like there's like a level of dislike or like disdain that causes us to be exclusive, which is not the case in the slightest bit. There's people that have like white partners that they're like, well, this event's just not for you, and that there's no strife there. And some people just don't understand it, that like what an exclusive space serves or like what the purpose is.
How would you explain it to those people when they hear that and they want to push back?
Yeah. So first off, I usually just mention other exclusive spaces that exist, like gendered bathrooms. Those are exclusive spaces, which, there are some like leeways in those because we have all gender bathrooms, but that's like a super basic way to look at it. Or like a sorority. That's another exclusive space. And then I also sometimes will say, you're a cat, okay? And you're walking in the alley. You're trying to get to your home. You can go left down the alley that's full of dogs and maybe some possums, raccoons, right? All these other animals. The dogs are most likely going to chase you. Or you could walk down the alley that's full of cats and get home. And it's like, which one would you choose? The one that's safe for you includes the people that are part of your community ultimately, right? And they're going to take care of you and nurture you on your way home, versus, the alley that's full of dogs or whatever. And yeah, pretty much thinking about just that.
I could see some hesitation coming from the fact that none of those are race-based, though. Right? It's not a black cat and you see a bunch of white cats.
Yeah.
It's cats. And it's not gendered bathrooms based on race. It's male and female. But do we have any race-based ones?
Well, I'm wondering why those socially, like, gender is also a social construct. Why is it okay to use that in this premise, but not another social construct like race? But I also want to say that for many, many, many years, lots of spaces were segregated by race. And Black folks weren't even really put in a position to enjoy joyful spaces like this, like we have, just events to enjoy yourself, just events to connect with your community. But we were supposed to leave these white spaces ultimately. So, there was that happening for a very long time. And, now it's just not done with a negative connotation,
Yeah, but it's still weird that it's race-based, right?
No.
But what if it was a bunch of white people creating a white space?
White people
That's
already create white spaces.
Yeah, but in today's
they
world,
just don't say it's for white people. But think about it.
In today, though, could you come out and say, hey, I'm starting this bar and this bar is just for white people? That would be a problem.
Well, I think just because that's like a business offering like a service, you like legally can't deny service to people.
What if you were holding a meeting You're like, we're just gonna have a
I
meeting
mean,
of white people.
I mean, quite frankly, if a bunch of white people were like, we're having a meeting, it's only white people,
Kind of
I
sounds
don't want to
clannish.
go.
Yeah, kind of.
So,
To
yeah,
be
they
fair,
can do whatever they want.
it doesn't sound good when you put it like that.
But, I mean, infinity spaces also exist for LGBTQ community. Like, are you mad at them for doing the exact same thing?
But then we go back to
and
that's
it's
a sexual
self-identifying.
orientation,
It's
right?
self-identifying also. So like, no one is policing our door. White people have come to our events because they have, black partners or something along those lines.
To the exclusive black ones?
Yes. And so, there's levels. Like we have, there's a lot of interrace families here. So some people have black kids that they want to go to the black event that doesn't have a black parent. We're not going to tell those people they can't come. Like, that's still, you're part of the community. You're part of the mix. But, we like folks to, look into that, why we're having the conversations of exclusive spaces, what it gives to the black community, and then also understanding why you're defensive about it existing.
Are a lot of people defensive?
I mean, I don't think a lot of, especially now, I think at first people were just seeing like I'm excluded from something instead of like,
which sparks a negative reaction. In a lot of people.
Right? People were reacting and being like, well, I can't go to this. Why? And then, taking a step back and being like, oh, you just like want some space for things that I don't experience. And I'm not sure what I would serve in that space anyways, and a lot of people, we do have community-wide events. And I think some people do understand the conversation because we do get a lot of messages that say, hey, just checking in. Is this an exclusive space? Because I want to know, what my role in the space is. And, people of color also can be of white skin. So, some of those folks sometimes are like, am I included in this conversation? Because I am a white-bodied person, but I live the experience of like a person of color because I have whatever heritage, And so, we're not policing the doors at our events to be like, no, you can't come in. Because most of the time.
Do a skin test right at the front?
Yeah. No paper ballot test. But quite frankly, you generally know, if you're subject to colorism. That's also like a thing we kind of say, like.
Colorism?
So, yeah. So generally, under the terms of colorism, people of a darker complexion receive basically the shit end of the stick in every situation versus lighter skinned people. And so maybe you've heard people have conversations around like light skin privilege and like that level of blackness being more digestible for, the white gaze or the white dominant culture that is generally in our communities. And so that's often a conversation we'll have with folks too, where they're like, I'm not black, but like I am a dark skinned person and I experience things in this dominantly white space. And so we're like, absolutely, if you feel like you want to create community with us, like come create community with us.
I don't inherently think that creating isolated spaces like that is bad. Like I think Boy Scouts is good. I think little boys should have a place where they can go and just be boys. I think Girl Scouts is good. Gendered bathrooms I think is pretty good. I could see the hesitation where it comes to racial divides. But that's an interesting point where we do have these other gendered ones. It's just the race one is always interesting to me. Just because, how do I want to phrase this? Just because I think it's a slippery slope. I think it's a slippery slope when we start isolating people based on characteristics. It was a problem back with slavery. That was a big problem. And I worry that it just creates more of a divide rather than helping.
And I mean, really, I guess
I don't know if that's a good way to phrase that.
I mean, quite frankly, you can have all those feelings. Like, I'm sure, people have that regard all the time, but I find that it comes from people that don't need those spaces. So folks that generally feel safe in most situations that they encounter. And so, that's all right because we're gonna hold the space for the folks that do need it, and they'll take what they need from it. But like same thing, like BIPOC caucuses exist. It's like a technique often used to support communities and underserved populations, right? Where you have these listening sessions that are infinity-based spaces, meaning identity-based. Sometimes
That's what
race.
infinity means?
And if affinity.
Affinity,
So
okay.
AFF, yep.
I thought you were saying infinity. I was like, I've never heard this.
Affinity spaces, yes. It's like a commonly used education tool where you'll divide people based on common identities. Sometimes that's could be gender-based, it could be race-based, it could be sexual orientation. And it's ultimately, again, just a blanket of safety because everyone in that space has a similar, if not the same, lived experiences.
Do you think that we could run into a problem, though, in the future where if we separate all of these people out into these groups based on experiences, based on race, based on whatever, we limit their ability and their perception of different experiences? And so instead of bringing people closer together as a community level, we build these little pockets that are really tight, but then outwardly to other pockets, there's no.
Yeah, I mean,
you get that disconnect.
I mean, I think we already see things like that existing, right?
I think that's my fear with spaces like that are divided on race, is that if everybody just went, then maybe you would have more white people go and they could see that side of, okay, oh shit, you know?
And I mean, and that's why we do both, right? So we do a Juneteenth celebration every year. We've never done that exclusively because I think it's really powerful for our non-Black community to learn about the intersection of Black history and American history through that celebration, right? Or like we do an artist showcase all the time. The lineup is exclusive to Black artists, but everyone can come and watch it. The spaces that we want to make exclusive are the intimate ones, you know, the ones that we're looking to create more of an intimate community, tight-knit bond versus, you know, a learning opportunity for the community or something like that, a fundraiser. And I think, you know, being intentional in those spaces is what packs the punch of how we serve our community, knowing that they can do both, interact with a greater community of Humboldt or interact with, you know, the people that have the closer identifiers to me and have the same like experiences I'm having, or also have young kids that I would like to hang out with my young kids because they live in McKinleyville and I live in Fortuna or whatever, you know.
I was just I was processing that because I think it is important. I think.
Well, it's kind of like, so do you like play fantasy football or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't either, but I'm just thinking like you have your crew that you do that with, right? And that's just the crew. And I mean, it's kind of like that. You have your friends that you would invite to dinner. Like say you're having like an event, right? You're having a huge birthday. You're turning 50. You might invite your family, your friends, your coworkers. You know, you might invite more people to that because it's like a general celebration. But then maybe one Friday you're feeling like you just want to, you know, have some social time. You're making dinner at your house. You might only invite, you know, your friends and your family. Or, you know, it's Christmas morning. Or, excuse me, I don't know what holidays you celebrate. So it's some great holiday that you celebrate. And you might only invite your family. So just like being intentional with your space is like a good way to think about it too. And like how you use those regenerative spaces or those like healing spaces, the ones where you like recharge your batteries. How intentional are you with those spaces?
In regards to your spaces, is any of that designated by race? Do you have like a close knit of Black friends that you're more close with than like any of your white friends or something like that, or any of your, I don't know, pick a race?
I mean, as a Black person, I'll say also as a queer person, like most of my friends are
in that
Black or brown or queer. You know, I have white family too, and I have white friends. But generally speaking, when I was in high school, and when I switched schools in like 6th grade, at the lunchroom, I was looking for people that looked like me, or I was like that's kind of where I was at. Or, especially like my neighborhood I grew up in was a bunch of people that look like me also. So it's like, those are just the people I was looking for. And that tends to be when you're a single number in a room of people that don't look like you tend to want to go to the people that do look like you, which sometimes it's race, but I'm a pretty racially ambiguous person. So I'm like, not necessarily like black folks, but black and brown, people of color in general.
When how old were you then in school? You said you were waiting in the lunch line. Did you say your age?
Oh, it was like 6th grade, so
6th grade.
12,
Okay.
13.
Did you were the white kids like not accepting
Uh,
at the time, or you just felt more comfortable when
I
you were
had
around somebody that looked like
absolutely
you?
experienced extremely racist things towards me from white students, but it wasn't necessarily that they were white and I was like, oh no, like my mother is white, my grandmother is white. Those are two like nurturing places for me. But I just had good situations with, or just hanging out with a group of kids that, they listen to the music I like, eat the food I eat, things like that, where I was just like, oh, these people do the things I do, I like them. And when you're like 12, you're not like, it's because we have the same ethnic background. You find like you like make those connections later.
And this was back on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm guessing it was a predominantly white school then.
Well, funny thing is, I actually grew up in an inner city, super Caribbean. So Caribbean people look like they go from extremely dark to extremely white, blonde hair, blue eyes. So that concept didn't really exist for me. But my grandparents lived in a white suburb that was like an hour away from there, that had really good school system. So my mom we used to wake up at the crack of dawn and drive to this school and basically use my grandmother's address to go to this school for a better education. And my brother and I were the only two black kids that went to this school. And we were a spectacle. Like, people were like always commenting on my hair, my clothes, everything, the way I spoke, what I brought to school for lunch, the fact that I needed school, like free lunch. Like there was definitely a racial divide, but a socioeconomic divide too. Like I lived in an apartment building stacked on top of people, with too many kids in the apartment, and these kids all lived in like, nice suburb houses. So just things like that. I remember one time some kid cut me in line, and I was like in like 2nd grade. So this is a imprint memory. I don't know if you ever saw the Brain movie, the Pixar.
Oh,
Inside Out.
Yeah, Inside Out.
So this is a core memory.
A good memory or good movie.
Yeah, great movie.
Not a good memory. Good movie. That's
bad
what I meant
memory,
to say.
good
Great
movie.
Yeah.
But this kid cut me, and I was like, "Yo, you can't cut me." And he was like, "Yes, I can. You're brown." And I legit was like, "Oh, like that's a rule I never heard before." Like,
oh, you thought that was
I thought
legitimate.
it was real. Like, I thought that was so real. And I went home and like told my mom, and I was like, "Did you know you can't be in the front of the line if you're brown?" And she was like, "Oh my God, what? Who said this?" Like, and like told me that's not real, that's not nice, whatever. But yeah, that stuff used to happen to me all the time. And then I got to go to another suburb because we moved to that community, but it was a very diverse community. So still pretty like white liberal. There were no liberals in that first town I spoke about. I misspoke. But this second town, very white liberal, lots of like first generation people of color. There was like 5 universities there. So like people just flocked kind of to that area. And that's where I like really started to make like a community of black and brown kids that like looked like me and like to do things I did, and listen to the music I listened to. Their parents like were similar. There was a lot of like interracial kids that I was friends with. That was like an area that had a lot of interracial families and mixed race families, which is great. We love those. So lots of weird race experiences through it all, really.
Yeah, that is a crazy thing for a kid to experience, right? And you're a kid, so you don't know. You hear that, and you're like, "Oh,
I literally was
I
like,
guess
"Oh, okay.
new school. I mean, I guess this is just
I
the
ain't never
way."
been here before."
Where back east was this?
I'm from Western Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
So I was born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts, which is like kind of closer to Hartford, Connecticut. And then my grandparents live in like this weird little tiny town in between there and Boston, pretty much in Western Massachusetts. And Amherst is though where I went to high school, and that's a pretty well-known area just because of all the colleges that are there. And like Stonewall happened really close to there, and Hampshire College is a kind of a well-known arts, like liberal arts college. A lot of great like activists, like arts activists, have come from Hampshire College.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, cool. It's all right. It's a cool place.
Okay. What was Stonewall? That was the school?
No, so Stonewall was like the revolt led by Marsha P. Henson. That's like a trans activist from like the 70s or 80s. I don't know. I'm bad with timelines, but they basically like stood their ground and got rowdy, and it helped just advocate for a lot of trans rights. And there's a building in Amherst named after that riot.
I don't know if I've heard about that.
Oh, yeah. Get
Oh,
on. Get
okay.
on
I'm
your
gonna have to
black
do
trans
some-
activists.
I'm gonna have to do some Googling.
You over here mad about exclusive spaces.
No, I'm not mad. I have to intentionally press just because I'm trying to understand. Like I don't
yeah.
I don't have any skin in the game, so I just from like a spectator
Yeah.
standpoint, I guess of okay, why though?
Yeah.
Why is it that way?
I mean, I always am like, we socially construct a lot of things, and I think everyone gets really upset about race, where I'm like, it's literally just categorizes your shade of skin. It's
oh yeah,
kind
it's a stupid metric.
It's stupid. We could get rid of it if you really wanted, like, but for so long, so many things have been like created around it. It's like,
I think it's just a slippery slope. And the only reason I say that is because we both know that if they were starting white meetings in town, most people would say, okay, that's.
I mean, there already are. They just don't say
Are people
it.
doing that?
Are
really...
people of color or young people going to, like, these meetings, or like, excuse me, anyone outside of a certain sphere of communications doesn't know about any of the local meetings that happen. And I promise you, I can list the communities that are outside of those spheres that receive those communications, like to know that those meetings are happening, or like going to a town hall meeting, like look around, who are the people that are knowing to be there at that time, unless there's like a deliberate motion happening that affects communities of color, they normally are not going to those meetings. Which just doesn't
like a board of supervisors
like
meeting?
A board of supervisors meeting, or like Eureka Town Hall, or.
But is that by choice of them just not going?
Well,
to be fair, I haven't gone either.
No,
but I've watched
I'm saying
them.
like those people are less likely to be in the line of communication to know that meeting is happening, just based off of like demographics of who holds those jobs in our community, or like who the people that are included in those conversations are less likely to be people of color based off our demographics, because there's so few of us. And so I'm not saying that is an exclusive space. I'm just saying that by the way it functions, it often becomes an exclusive space because it's not accessible to everybody.
Well, anybody could go.
You
to be
can,
fair. Anybody
but it
could
only
show up.
happens at a certain time. It only when it was virtual, I was like, they should just keep these virtual, because
It's perfect.
It's perfect because you
or
can
at
just
least
kinda,
live stream them.
Yeah, because you
they
can just
do.
drop
they do.
in. So I'm like, I hope they keep that. Anyone that's a part of that.
Yeah,
that
I watched one a
function.
couple weeks ago and it was in person, but they live streamed it, and that's how I saw it.
Yeah. But prior to that, you would have to like not work at that time, which
Or catch
is
the
an office
replay
hour.
on the news at like.
But if it's a
Sunday at
replay, you
7.
can't even go do anything.
Yeah, then it doesn't matter at that point.
So just a tiny, like, just reflecting on how these things like pop up in lots of ways, I guess.
Yeah, but that would be crazy if they came out and said, "Okay, whites only." That would be crazy.
I mean, I don't know.
That would be
Maybe
so
it's because I'm
crazy.
black, but I'm like, lots of places say that without saying that. Like,
But couldn't an argument be made that okay, how am I going to say this? Couldn't that be some people definitely do, right? That is a real thing. But some people could that just be misinterpreted? Okay, what do you
Well,
mean when you say that?
I mean, like, so Ready, there's some, it's a fraternity that's like, or sororities do this too.
Here locally? Oh,
No,
you're just
just
saying
in
in general.
general.
Okay.
So the concept of that, right? So fraternity and sororities, some of them you can only be in if a family member has been a part of it. And so if that university didn't start even having black students until the 1980s, that was an exclusively white space for a pretty long time. Like, you know what I mean? Until someone waved out of that and maybe had an interracial child, but for the most part, it could be assumed that that lineage was pretty white for a while. And like similar things like that where what's being handed down or whatever to get in, same thing country club, you have to like be a certain price bracket to be in a country club once upon a time, whereas like black folks could even have good paying jobs until whatever. And it's like, so once again, another place that probably took a while for it to be fully integrated just based off of the credential to get in or whatever it may be, or like the wage gap for so long because black people couldn't go to college. You know, there was just a huge wage gap there, and it was like black people weren't going to even be middle class, and so many things you don't get to do once you make it to middle class America, whatever.
Couldn't get loans to buy houses.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you have to be a homeowner to join this club. I'm not telling you it's exclusively white, but if you are not allowed to own a house as a black person, I'm telling this now is an exclusive space.
Do you think that's a problem?
I mean, I believe it's a problem we're dismantling slowly now. But I mean, I'd like to think that like things like redlining are a thing of the past, but I don't live everywhere, you know. I know people still have some pretty radical ideas around race in like the middle of the country. Maybe some southern towns.
Yeah, there are definitely a few nut jobs still out there.
Well, I won't
think
say
it is.
nut jobs.
I will say nut jobs. I'll say it for both of
I'm
us.
like, he said it.
Nut jobs. But or not, but yeah, there definitely are. I think I mean, we are definitely making a lot of progress for sure. I would say.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of like switching up, just general lines of thinking and societal expectations and norms, and also like the combination, like everyone's becoming interracial. So I hope and I pray that, I mean, even I have kids, and my children are very fair skinned, so my son has no idea about a lot of the racial things that like I experienced or any of my family members who are like darker than me. And I see a lot of kids that come from black families or like interracial families. So both my husband and I are interracial. And so our kids could really look like anything, which is like also crazy, science and race and stuff. But so I feel like a lot of kids look like him now. And it's not a factor in a lot of things that it was when I was younger. Or it might be just generally society is trying to step away from, like we said, that weird social construct that we use so often.
Yeah. What do you make of mixed race relationships? You think that's fantastic?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm down for anybody to love anybody. You can.
That's my approach. Why would anybody care what anybody else
Yeah,
does?
I'm like, I've liked almost every kind of person ever. So that's how I see everything.
I have talked to people and gotten this sentiment that for some in the black community, it's not, I wouldn't say it's not great, but
Yeah,
the
it's
idea,
weird. There's
it's
a lot of
weird.
things
There's
like
a
that.
little friction there.
Yeah, there are a lot of. It's funny because I feel like that's every culture or every like community. They have their like barriers, you know, like the black community is rough on queer folks too, or like the idea of therapy. And then some folks, yeah, same thing. Like, you don't date outside your race, but it's like, if my father didn't date outside his race, I would not exist.
It's a weird sentiment, especially when it comes to relationships.
I do think there's a lot of work and education to be had by a white parent that has a brown child. And I think it's important that those people look into just, society's set up for brown folks, and I hear this response from a lot of people that were like, I did not even really understand the implications of race until I was in a relationship with a person of color or had brown children. And so I do urge that. I'm like, have all the multiracial babies you want, but do the work that you can like emotionally and mentally support them in the way that's like important for them to be held.
What's the framework for that work?
I mean, quite frankly, I think it takes a lot to understand the role of white supremacy in our country, the role of, implicit bias, dominant culture in general. Like, find out, if you don't know what the patriarch is, read a book and find out what the patriarch is. It's like another really strong controlling factor in our country. And I think there's a lot of social diagrams you can dissect that affect brown kids, and it's European beauty standards, representation, being told that majority of the ways you look is not how, it is changing, right? Like the media is changing. We have more representation, but this idea that like dark skinned, nappy head people don't exist in the media is like not good for the kids that, fit that box or look like that. And just like white defensiveness, like you brought up, people that are going to be mad about exclusive space. Like, why are you mad? There's lots of spaces you can't go to. Are you mad at those spaces too? If you're not, the differing factor, you might need to reflect on that a little bit.
Yeah, again, I think that just comes from, if it was both ways, I don't think people would have a problem with it. I think it would be fine.
Yeah.
If every race could form their own, white people,
I mean,
Chinese
everyone
people,
can. You just
everyone
call
can,
people.
but white people. Everyone can, but white people.
I mean,
there's
you
that
literally
weird stigma with white people.
I mean, just like I made a flyer that said Black exclusive space, people got mad at me. I didn't care, and I held my space that I needed. Like, a white person can do the exact same thing.
You don't think they get shit on way more though? You
I
don't
mean,
think there would be like even
I got
more
shat
pushback?
on. People were like calling us, telling us we're racist, or telling us, yeah, like people will call our phone, or like we gave away school kits and we said for black and brown kids, and someone called us and said pink kids are great too. And I was like, all right.
So you've already heard that sentiment. That's
I've heard. We hear it,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. It's that the people that have never needed to create space for themselves are the ones that call us, telling us we're bad people because we have to make our own space because there's none for us. That's just truly safe, somewhere that I can like just kick back. I don't have to worry about who's watching me or listening to me or like whatever. But yeah, we've gotten some funny. Well, it's funny because we have like a Google Voice, so I read them. I don't like, and then sometimes I'll
you have a voice read to you?
Well, like on the Google Voice app, your voicemails are like scripted out.
Oh, okay.
And then you listen to it.
But, so you don't have to hear them saying it.
Yeah.
You can
but
read it.
It's funny to see like how it codes it and then what they're saying.
Yikes. Well, that's interesting that you say they should just go ahead and make it.
I mean, if you have a need for it, you shouldn't really care what anyone else says. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that would be harder. I think it would
and then
be
I'm
hard.
also wondering, so I mean, really, like, so you're like, okay, the white people can't do it, but then what, I'm trying to see how I'll phrase this question.
Oh, it's a podcast. You can phrase it however you want.
I know. Well, not to be right, just to like communicate what I'm trying to say, but like, why does that scare you? Like,
why does that scare me?
Yeah.
It scares me because I feel like we are on a path of division. And I feel like as we separate into these groups, LGBTQ, black, white, Mexican, Chinese, I feel like we are creating greater and greater divides in our country. And I think that we're going to hit a boiling point where nobody comes together. And that scares me.
Okay.
And so I feel like instead of looking at things that we don't share in common, we need to start coming together on common ground. We're all people.
Yeah.
We all live in this country. We're all, or most of us, are struggling and trying to create a better life for ourselves, for our kids,
Yeah.
for the future. And we have problems. We have Ukraine, we have global warming, we have all these other issues, and to continually break people down into these boxes, I think that's a problem. And I worry that as that becomes more ingrained into just everyday life in America, our our grandkids are going to be so much more segregated than what happened in slavery or in the 60s, or pick a time. We're just,
Yeah.
and it's going to be because we chose to go down that path.
I think you're forgetting that almost all those people you listed in, are included in more than one of those things, right? Like intersectionality exists. Like, so I'm a Black woman, right? But I'm also a Black queer woman. I'm also multiracial. I'm also technically white. You know, I could check that box. I have a white mother. And so, you know, I belong to multiple of these communities. So even if one of them is having a space that's exclusive, I still exist in more than one space. So I think, you know, you start to think about people sectioning off. I mean, I don't think we'll ever be as extreme as sectioning off or even segregation like we had in the 60s Jim Crow era, because people exist in more than one community, you know. And it's like, what happens to all the middle people, you know, all these folks that are exist in all these multiple spaces, you know, like, or even like segregation was like the paper brown test, right? So if you're darker than a paper brown bag, then you're a Black person.
Was that a real test?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. You over here saying
Did
it's
they
about to
hold
be
up
segregation.
Well, to be fair, I don't think it will take that form, but I think it will take the form of all Black schools, all Mexican schools. I think it will take the form of somebody's friend group being primarily made up of one race and them not experiencing
Yeah.
other races, whatever
Well,
that
I'm like,
looks
all
like.
those things already exist.
I know, and that scares me.
And if you think about it, that's pretty much how our country was built post segregation, right? The Reconstruction era was putting all the Black and brown people in shitty ghettos and then allowing everyone else to move to the suburbs. So I'm like, we've already had these exclusive spaces. They're just not in desirable places that other people want to go to, right? We had no one complaining, I want to go live in inner city Harlem, but they won't let me because I'm a white person. Like, no one was saying that because no one wanted to go live in those conditions, right? And it's just interesting now that, you know, these spaces are becoming something of therapy, something of cultural preservation, something where we are relearning the languages that were taken from us. Or, you know, a Mexican school might exist because it's Spanish language, you know, they're speaking Spanish there. And even Fuente Nueva exists in Arcata, right? It's a Spanish immersion school. So they speak in Spanish there. I can, you can probably assume a lot of bilingual families of Spanish descent go to that school, but I know for a fact lots of white children go to that school too, you know? And it's like, therefore they are here at this exclusive space because it's language exclusive, right?
But it's language exclusive, but it's not saying you can't learn the language and then enter the space. Race specific
but
inclusivity is, I can't learn to
But even a Black school is not going to be race exclusive. It's going to be exclusive to Black history, Black knowledge, Black Afro-Pan-African living, you know? I don't think we'll ever see someone say, no, I'm only taking this race of person.
Even if that was only Black people or only Mexicans.
Yeah, but I could see them saying this curriculum is solely based on the Black experience, you know, or the Mexican American experience, because we say, you know, I could see something like that happening in LA and it being very meaningful, right?
But that kind of embodies my fear, right? Because then if you're only learning one side of history, then you're missing out on.
Well, we've only been learning one side of history for the whole time.
That was a problem. That was a huge problem, and us now just changing that one side is still a problem. You have to have the whole picture. To
that would be the goal.
Yeah,
right. There we go. I'm telling. Yeah,
but I don't think.
Or I'm telling you this history. I'm just not excluding anything this time.
Exactly, but I don't think we're going there. I think we're just switching
I'm like,
to
Mexican
one
school
side.
sounds lit. They can have Mexican cuisine. You learn about Mexican history. Maybe you will learn Spanish, and then you go home to whatever community you're from. And you can implement those things into your life.
That would be
or
awesome.
Not. Like, that sounds lit.
But again, it's not race based,
No.
which is the thing.
It would just be like culturally influenced.
yeah, and you could always learn Spanish. And
Yeah.
going to the school, you would definitely learn Spanish if that's what they're teaching
Yeah.
you, and you would have to pick it up.
Yeah, and when you're a kid, that's the best time to learn a language. And they can do the same thing for so many things. Like, we're supposed to be a melting pot. There should be,
But I think that does hit on my point, is that we're just switching out. Okay, so say we got the white side of history, you could frame it like that. Well, then now we're just switching it out to the Mexican side or the black side. But then what about the Chinese side? What about
I mean, I think
we
you just, tap into those communities to get the resources and tell it as like a full timeline, right? So, like, say it's 1907. These are all the things that were happening on this land in 1907. And that's it. It does. I mean, obviously there's things missing though, because we only have white history because they had the resources to make history, whereas other people that were here either kept history in a different form or didn't have access to do anything. So it's like, I don't know how you fix the history problem, but that those are the people that had like pen and paper, if you think about it.
Well, yeah, and the winner always writes the
tells
history
the
book.
story. Yeah.
That's just how human history goes.
So, but
yeah,
I don't think. I was like, we got way off topic, but
it's all in theme.
I think we're too far past that. I think too many things intersect and cross over for us to ever fully be like, all of this type of person is here and all of this person is here, and we're throwing.
But
up
even
whatever.
if you fit into all of those boxes, most people condense it down to a very few primary ones that they really identify with. Like, you're black and white. Do you identify with the white side?
I mean, yeah, my mom raised me.
But would you identify with that? Would you say in equal parts to being black as well? Do you feel like you've got?
I mean, I think maybe I'm a rare case because I have on both sides of my parents. I'm very close to my immigrant that came here. So like my great grandfather immigrated on my grandma's side, on my mom's side, and my dad's an immigrant. And so I feel like I was just culturally connected to, like, my grandfather's from Ireland, his wife is from France, and then my dad is from Haiti. So I'm like, I feel like I just was just still immersed in those. My family hadn't assimilated yet, whereas who knows, So yeah, like if you go to my Instagram, you'll see I have a little Irish flag and a little Haitian flag because I have Haitian heritage and Irish heritage. So
yeah, that's definitely a mix, right? Irish, France.
Yeah, Irish,
and
France, Haitian, which is funny because France colonized Haiti.
Did they really?
I mean, it's not funny, but
yeah,
yeah. That's why
back,
Haitian folks speak French Creole.
Yeah, and they colonized Canada too, right? Didn't the French do that?
Yeah, or maybe like portions of
Okay.
it. But yeah, there's a lot of French influence in Canada, and I'm not sure if that was like their America, like France went there, or if they what happened. I don't know.
Yeah, history's so fascinating. I definitely do not know enough of it.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
just so much out there. I mean, you could pick one small spot on a map and spend your life learning about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you should learn about the African diaspora because it will open your eyes a little bit more on Black Humboldt's exclusive spaces, because we will take anyone from the African diaspora and you can look like anything coming from the African diaspora because France, Spain, England, Taínos, which are natives, and Black folk all mingled within the African diaspora. So,
what is the African diaspora?
So the African diaspora is basically all the countries that were slaves were brought to. So it's the entire Caribbean, some of the bottom of America, and well, really, I guess we don't really say that's the African diaspora, but Florida, slaves were coming in and out of Florida, but most slaves basically came from Africa and went to the Caribbean. Then they were housed in the Caribbean islands, and then they were sent to the Americas and to the top of South America. So like Brazil, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, all those places have people of so many skin tones. So like there are completely white people that live in these spaces. There are completely black people that live in these spaces, and every shade in between and every hair texture in between. Like the African diaspora is so vast. And that's like anyone that has heritage out of any of those islands most likely has white, African, and native, indigenous, Taino, like mixed culture. And so that's why we were like, anybody from the diaspora can come into our exclusive space. And so, that, like I said, so many different people.
Even if they're albino, they would be welcome.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think it's more of like a cultural thing than like the way you look. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can be any color and experience a different culture, right? You could be white and grow up in Mexico, and you'd be vastly different than
Yeah. It's
a
called
Mexican that grew up
it's
here.
called a third culture, or like, yeah, third culture, I think is what it's called. It's basically when you are not of that ethnic descent, but you grow up immersed in that culture. So exactly that, like being white, growing up in Mexico, or like I went and grew up in Australia or something.
It'd be cool to have an Australian accent, though.
Yeah.
I would be down for that.
That place has wild animals. I could not. I
Yeah,
mean,
I wouldn't go.
excuse me.
I would not leave the
Everywhere has
city.
wild animals, but
Yeah, but it feels like everything in Australia wants to kill you.
yeah.
At least here you have some things that are like, oh, okay,
My
like
son
a
said
horse.
that. He was like, people live there and everything can kill you. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. It seems, I mean, Sydney seems like it
And
would
it's
be
really
cool.
hot. But it's great. Rich culture. See, like history is really cool. I would learn about things. It's just sad that most of it has like genocide.
Well, genocide is just a part of human nature, right?
I mean, is it?
You don't think it is?
I mean, I don't think it's not. I just don't think it should be. I think it's a negative.
Oh yeah, I'm not over here promoting
of human nature,
I'm not over here saying
or almost
that's-
like
we're getting gold star for all of that.
like if there were 100 people in the whole world, I would feel like only like 5 of them, human nature would be like, let me kill all these people.
Yeah, but then it'd be rough for those other 95.
I know, but I'm saying like I don't think it's like a super common trait that.
Oh no, I think most people err on the side of good.
Yes.
The problem is it only takes a handful.
I
to
know
err on
one
the
person,
bad
quite
side.
frankly.
Yeah,
With the right power dynamics, you can get
and
them
change
to, yeah,
the world.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think. Well, and I think we're kind of biased today towards that because we grew up with
Things.
everything
Yeah.
at the click of a button, especially now. And back then it was a different time. Like back in the
Yeah, but almost
650s
I think
and before.
I
mean,
don't
you
know.
just-
I think it's people are still just as desperate, just the means has changed. Cuz we still like poverty, crime, all of that exists because people's needs aren't being met. Like
Yeah, but we're not.
you
I
and
mean, there's no
I.
threat. There's no threat that tomorrow. Well, that's kind of different with Ukraine popping off. But there's no threat that tomorrow somebody could come into our village and start beheading people.
Well, quite frankly, my neighbor, if he wanted to, he could come and kick in my door and be like, "Give me your house or I shoot you." I don't think
point.
that's going to happen, but because I think he's a nice person. But I mean, I don't know him, but it hasn't
You're
happened yet.
assuming.
But yeah, I'm assuming. But I mean, it could. Like, or someone could be like, "Give me your car." And I'd be like, if they had a gun, I'd be like, "Yep, here's my car. Here you go." Because I don't know what you're capable of.
I've talked about that a few times on here now. Is that there's this thin veneer of society that we all live in now, where it's like, oh, because we come into contact with so many different people, and all it would take is one
I know.
to just have a bad day, and
I mean, we'll see, and that's maybe a better reflection on human nature, or is that we believe people to be good until they prove us to like the opposite, you know? So,
yeah. But what's the alternative? Think everyone's gonna
well,
kill
no,
you?
that's
That's
like
a rough life.
Craigslist exists because people trust other people, right? I can sell my bike on Craigslist, but really, I could make a crazy list of the crazy post on Craigslist and just wait for people to show
Well,
up.
cities exist because we have a pretty good amount of trust in people. If I told you there was one person in Eureka that was gunning to kill you, you would say, "I'm not going to Eureka.
Yeah,
I'm gonna live anywhere else but Eureka." But we all live here. Because we feel pretty
Because
safe.
no one has told me they're gonna kill me
Yeah.
yet.
Nobody ever does until it happens, and you're like, oh shit. Society.
Funny. Well, yeah.
I mean, right? It's just a weird. It's this lie that we tell ourselves that, oh no, we're safe. We're okay. Every day is gonna be good.
Yeah, I mean,
And you almost have to in order to live life. Because if you spent every day thinking, today could be the day that I die.
well, I mean, I
Today could be the
guess
day.
that's just a reflection of our privilege that those aren't the thoughts we're having. Because I guess someone somewhere is having those exact thoughts.
A lot of people.
A lot, yeah, exactly.
A lot of people that are starving to death.
Sick or might lose their job or lots of things.
Yeah, might lose their job is a little lighter. But that's
Some
up
people
there.
handle things differently. Or like you don't know what goes with that. Losing
Yeah, but
the
I would
job,
definitely.
what else happens?
True. That's true. I would definitely rather lose my job than die.
Absolutely.
I think that's.
But if you lose your job, you could eventually die. Homeless.
Well, they have those.
On the street, freeze to death.
They have those nets around buildings in China, right? Because people just jump out of the buildings.
Wow. See? That's wild.
That's crazy.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, because so many people were jumping.
There's a lot of people that live there.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
And they have, I think it's these phone factories that they have. I don't know if it's like iPhone or Samsung or I don't know which one in particular, but they have these giant factories where.
Oh, the workers.
Yeah, they'll have the workers live at like one complex and then bus them over to the other complex to assemble, and that's where they just start jumping.
I mean, of course they do. They don't live anywhere but work.
Yeah, that's not a good life.
Like do they leave?
I don't think so.
Because I'm like, that literally is a recipe for people wanting to kill themselves.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna say that they probably don't leave. Maybe on the weekend if they get a weekend, but
Yeah, see, that's what I'm thinking. Like, what's your weekend?
not enough to make you not want to jump.
Yeah, that's crazy. Man. Well, shout out to those people that have to work that job and haven't killed themselves
And
yet.
here we
I
are.
hope
I've
you
got
have better
an iPhone
things.
over here.
Yeah, so do I. Fuck, I have to get rid of it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get rid of mine. I definitely empathize. That's the weird thing, right? Is
yeah.
we know that there are these problems out there with these child
Yeah.
factories and
I was
mining
just
for
going to
these
say that. I
minerals.
think about it all the time. Every time I want to buy a pair of Nikes, I literally think about small children and I'm like, fuck.
Do you still buy the Nikes though?
I mean, I haven't in a while, but I own some. So yeah, I'm there. I'm adding to the cause and it's like, same thing. This consumerism, it's crazy because the backside of it's ugly, but we all take part in it.
And we can ignore it because it's not
Because
over
it's not here. Yeah. Not in your face.
It's just far enough away.
Yep.
That's what's weird about the Ukraine war right now is that it's not that far away. It's because we can see it it's right on your phone.
I know, but even I was just talking to someone else about this. It's already like the performatism in this country is wild. People will be like, I support this. Oh my God. Reshare, post. It's flooding the system. And then 2-3 weeks later, it's like completely gone from the news. And it's like, and I even was like, wow, would this even be on my mind still if I didn't know somebody that lives in Ukraine? Like,
You know somebody that's out there?
They've already come back and they're safe and they're sound. Their family is situated. But it was on the forefront of my mind because someone I love was there. And I was having those moments all the time where I'm like, damn, like war happens every day. And it's just not on the forefront of my mind because it doesn't affect me like directly, And it's like, you can go on the internet and learn about things, but until it's like shoved at you, it's like, I didn't even think twice about it. And like, would I even be noticing that the headlines have ceased to include Ukraine if, again, I wasn't like directly tied to it?
That's crazy. I couldn't imagine actually being out there. Were they out there when it started? Or did they manage to get out before?
They were there at a pretty crazy time in the city. And I was very worried. And I also just kept having those like moments where I'm like, damn, you read books about like war stories and you are so disconnected from it. And you think that like the way people used to like drop bombs on cities is like a thing of the past. And it's like, absolutely not. People are still just dropping bombs on cities. Like,
and just shooting civilians.
Yeah, like
you hear stories about that.
Crazy. I mean, now I think they're gonna like They're like going to war jail or whatever, whatever
Well,
that's
they're
called.
trying. I know they started trying, or they just found him guilty today, a Russian soldier for war crimes. But the guy looks like he's maybe
See, but
18.
yeah, I saw that. But it like that concept is crazy to me. Like we're cool with people being like, I'm invading this space, shooting guns, killing people to an extent. Like, you know what I mean? Like you take it too far, you're gonna go to trial for war crimes, but like why is there even a space between like there
That's an
and
interesting point,
you know,
right?
like why is it okay for them to just come take this land anyways? Like I thought
Well, and we're saying, okay, you can drop bombs, but if you gas anybody,
Yeah, but
then we're gonna have a problem.
don't take
That's
it
a
too
great point.
far. Like
You've got this line. We're gonna let you shoot people. Yeah, you can kill a few civilians, but if you start gassing people,
yeah, like what? Who even decided that? And then like
that's
why
weird. I've never thought about
does
that.
all that space even exist? Like in my head, like before there were like laws and ideas around like wars and stuff, I was like, why? Like you can take land, cool, right? It's oldie times. It's like the 1300s. Everyone's like invading and taking land, and I was like, I thought we were just set on like the borders now. Like everyone's just happy with the land they have, and like
Today.
yeah, today now, by now we're good. We don't need to like go take land from people anymore. Like just chill. Everyone has somewhere to be. Like
Yeah, apparently not. Apparently we are not okay with that.
yeah.
I don't know. What do you do about that? Do you just let it play out? Do you intervene? There's not really a safe answer.
I mean, in my experience, you can kind of change anything. It just takes a lot of work and generally a lot of paperwork or like signatures from people that hold power. And it's like if you've got the time and energy, go for it.
What freaks me out is that it doesn't seem like we are doing anything to de-escalate. It seems like we're doing a lot to just keep the progression of what's going on going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like a double edged sword that basically we look like assholes because we can't really help because ultimately we don't want to end up in a shithole, which I'm like 100%. I'm like, I understand taking that stand, right? And like, our country is already falling apart. Like, we don't.
We've got a lot of problems.
Yeah, I'm like, we don't have anything to be stepping up to do anything for anybody. But then the other side of me is like, fuck that shit. But that's not why I'm not president, you know? Because I'd be like, save everybody. Like, that's not nice.
Well, we've definitely done a lot. I think it just came out a week or two ago that we've been providing a lot of intelligence to Ukraine that's led to like
Oh,
some
okay.
absurd number of Russian generals being killed.
My lord.
And we provided them, I believe, with the intelligence that got that Russian flag warship blown up. Like
Yeah. But then I'm
we've
like,
been doing a lot.
what does any of that even do? Are we just digging the hole more? Now someone's mad at us because we like killed their father and now they're stepping up to be general. Like,
Yeah, that's my fear with the escalation. Is it seems like we're not helping
yeah.
damper the problem.
Because really what we should have done is just, well, actually, I don't know. I
What are you
guess
gonna say?
I would have maybe just like sent some planes to pick some people up, sent some resources to the countries that have picked up refugees and just try to get everyone out instead of like blowing more people up.
And just let Russia take Ukraine.
I mean, that's why I'm not president.
I didn't say that was a bad idea.
Because I'm like, I mean, for me, not living there, not being connected to there, I'm like, yeah, let them have that land. But also, it's like, if I was from there, I'd be like, screw you, you can't have my land. So, I don't know. Trick question, because I don't really know the answer at all.
Yeah, there's one line of thinking that if Russia does get Ukraine, they're not gonna stop.
Right? They'll just keep. I mean, naturally.
Yeah.
Because why would they? It worked.
I don't know. My worry is that everyone is so callous about going back into war. There's a lot of talk of we should just engage with Russia, that we need to start providing these weapons so that Ukraine can start attacking Russia. And again, that freaks me out because that's a big step, and I don't think people realize that there would be a lot of casualty with
Yeah.
that war.
Well,
And
I
not
mean,
just Ukrainians. I mean, we haven't
the
sent,
world.
yeah, but we haven't sent soldiers. I mean, Afghanistan, yeah. But if we went to war with Russia, a lot of people would die.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And I'm like, our country's not even healed from the fucking Vietnam War.
We're not even healed from COVID.
And I'm like, let alone anything else that's come after that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people, like, people are not made for war or to be treated like machines in the face of war. I'm like, that's wild. And yeah, that's why I'm like, I feel like everyone was like, we don't know how to help you because none of us are in the position to go to World War III.
And it's crazy the amount of money we're just throwing at the problem isn't. We're talking, I want to say $40 billion.
The fake money.
What fake money?
Well, I'm just saying, like,
Oh,
the
that money is
concept of
fake?
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fake until you get to 40 billion, because 40 billion here could solve a lot of problems.
I mean,
We could do a lot of good
I
with
think
that's a lot of
anybody
money.
that knows can agree that the military budget spent in this country is ridiculous for the amount of zero problem solving that it does.
Yeah, right?
I'm like, all the money that goes to anyone that's like been a vet or like worked in the service, I'm there for that. I hope you're making all the money off America and fucking basically giving your mind and body to the country.
We should be doing more for them.
But a
No
lot of it
contest.
goes to like shit that I just don't think.
A lot of it goes to leaving weapons and vehicles just around.
Yeah,
Just
see, and it should be
around.
going to
Just
like the
around.
vets or.
Yeah, and those no bid contracts where these defense suppliers
I do
just
remember
get-
that. I had a Spanish teacher in high school who was like a conspiracist, and whenever she like wasn't really in the mood, I guess, to teach,
She would talk to you.
like she would show movies. So we watched that movie that they made that was all about like the government contracts and like basically people like swindling the country out of money. And it was all about them, yeah, like buying tanks and leaving them in the desert and or blowing them up on like no mission, like trucks exploding or whatever. And yeah, I remember she showed us that.
It's crazy. It's insane. There's no argument we waste money. I think the military, for better or worse, does need a big budget because I still believe in the idea of a big stick. I think that's a valuable concept. But we definitely waste a lot, and we
Yeah.
don't take care of vets in the way that we should.
Mm.
And I don't think they get treated in the way that they should.
Yeah, I
Because if you're
agree.
willing to sacrifice, that's not just
Well, especially since like back in the day, you didn't even have a choice. Like you would just get drafted if you were able-bodied of a certain age.
for like World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, what? I had dreams. At least now you can make that decision, you know, if you're passionate about joining the military to some extent, because you also don't have to be like out in the desert. Like you could be a tech person. Like there's lots of whatever. So I'm like, cool, all that's great. You know, you can make that choice. But there's like whole generations of people that got their like futures taken from them.
And the futures of their kids, right?
Yeah, I mean, they don't, if they even had kids. Some of them were just boys.
What freaks me out is those burn pits that they had. I don't know if it was in Afghanistan or Iraq, but they would just burn all the waste from the bases, you know?
Yeah,
and it's
wild.
soldiers out there burning it, and they've got cancers and these diseases that are just insane because they're breathing in this toxic air from this burn pit.
Wild.
And who okayed that? Who's like, you know what? I've got an idea.
Of all the money we have, let's save some.
Yeah, we're just gonna create these burn pits.
Oh God! And
I
can you
think they're
imagine what
still
that
doing that.
smells
Oh.
like?
Not as bad as the cancer that's gonna develop in 5 minutes.
Wild. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, not enough money to the vets, not enough resources. Everybody needs therapy and all the other things after you go to war. I'm like, none of it's done well.
Yeah, I don't know how you solve that problem either.
I don't know.
But I know going to war with Russia is not gonna.
Yeah.
That's not the
Well, moral of the
I don't know how to
story.
fix it, but I know
Yeah.
that doing that is not gonna help.
Moral of the story: no war with Russia.
Yeah.
Wild. But yeah, I was like, that's far away from where we started in this
That's the beauty of the
conversation.
podcast, though, is you get to like you start working in these different organic directions.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll pretty much like try to socially critique anything at any time, pretty much.
That's a good quality to have.
I
You seem
guess.
very open
Yeah, I'm
in
a
a sense.
pretty
At least open in the terms of conversation. Like you don't seem like you're too hesitant to talk about a topic.
No, I think yeah, I enjoy learning new things. I enjoy sharing knowledge. I really enjoyed like going to school and college and stuff. History is fun to me also. Um
When did you start getting involved in activism? When did that start taking up a place in your life?
I think I was like 14.
Oh, so young.
Yeah,
Is that normal? Is that when most people find it? Is that
quite frankly, being a black person in general, person of color, you tend to have moments to be an activist, like for yourself in a way, often. Um, and kind of like stand up for yourself or recognize when things are like weird, more so, I think, than a dominant identified person. But um, I was in an art group. It was like an after school program. And the whole premise was like using art for change. And so that being in that group opened a lot of conversations for me and also like supported my ideas that like I already had around people not all being treated the same or whatever. And it was like a video group. So I would make movies and like collab with these other kids of color, and it was like a dope little resource. And it morphed into some other groups I got involved with, and another group I was in was like a hip hop theater group, and it was all like based in activism. And so we would use a lot of time researching and finding out about revolutions and finding out about, unpopular revolutionaries, really learning about the Black Panther Party and, the black activists in the 60s that weren't Martin Luther King Jr. and really doing this like full scope of how different people interacted and influenced like different cultural moments, especially like for Black justice. And then it just kind of meshed well. Like I've always kind of been someone that's willing to talk and like stand up for other people. I was like always the loud kid and being like, that's not cool, stop that, whatever. So I think it like having that skill and then being able to have like resources for knowledge, it kind of just like went together. And I'm like, I'm not even like an activist. I think I just have a low tolerance for injustice and I'm willing to speak about it or create a platform for other people to speak about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a good quality to have. I think being open to conversation and closed off to bullshit, I guess you could say. I think that's good.
Yeah. I mean, some people are outspoken, some people aren't, and I think, use the tools you're given when you can.
Were you involved in anything in college?
Yeah, so high school, those groups I was in high school transcribed into college and in just a different way. And then I actually graduated from college and I was doing media production. And then I turned around and I actually worked at that organization that housed me in high school. And so I worked there for like 5 years. And that was while I was getting my bachelor's. So I had my associates. I was getting my bachelor's. I worked for that organization. And they would like send me to conferences and I would like link with all these different kind of like arts-based social justice entities. And so it's just been a topic for a while and it
You've
works.
been kind of immersed in that world for a minute.
Yeah. And I mean, I have like some dope connects. I have some really great friends. And I like to be able to like provide that cushion to hold people, I mean, not physically, but like, mentally in all the ways they need to be held. Right. Because I like help I can understand their struggle or like the need they have. So yeah, it's how it kind of always just been happening.
What do you make of that stigma around the social justice warrior and that branding?
It's funny you say that because I believe there are levels to it. Um, and it's funny you say that because I think it kind of plays into how earlier we were talking about like how some black folks are like, don't date white people. It kind of like plays into that too, where there's like conceptions of the black community that like go against the social justice warrior like sphere of like correctness or whatever. Um, but it's like a part of black culture, so it's like one of those things where it's like, I don't know what to do. Like,
In what ways?
well, like hip hop music. So like in the social justice warrior of correctness, like I'm not listening to any hip hop because it degrades women, or like, you know, they're talking about super homophobic, like, you know what I mean? And it's like my job as a social justice advocate is to recognize those things and notice how they cause harm, but I can absolutely enjoy this song. You know, I don't need to like go repeat these words or like teach my kids the lyrics to this song, but I think I should be able to enjoy it like at a dance party or something. Or same thing, like culturally, the word bitch, like you use that, like that's my bitch. Oh, what up, bitch? Like, you know, you just say it. Excuse me if I'm not supposed to swear.
No, you can say whatever.
Okay. I was like, oh wait, hold on.
Yeah, you're good.
You know what I mean? That's like another thing. Like culturally, we use that word, but in the grand scheme of like the social justice warrior, like you don't call anybody anything out of their name, even if it's reclaimed. And same thing like in the gay community, a lot of the slurs that you use towards the gay community, like have been reclaimed and same thing with the N-word, right? Like something that's been reclaimed, but in a social justice context, like it should just be thrown out the window. And we were talking about this in my house the other day because it's easy, I think, for people to like kind of take it and run and like not let people like be human or make error.
Get a little too crazy.
In the like sphere of being like, well, I'm a social justice warrior, like you can never mess up or you can never have a flaw or like be human in having to relearn things. You know what I mean? Like we're always relearning. Everything is coming to light that it's not great. You know, a lot of the things we've normalized and like we're all relearning. And I think there needs to be space like to understand that, you know? I mean, if I'm not being obviously like cruel, you know what I mean? Like in a way, like, I don't know. It's complex.
I'm glad you said that, because that is a perspective you don't really hear that often. Most people
Yeah.
ride on that cliff edge of, oh no, we gotta ban rap music because it's degrading women.
Yeah.
It's letting certain words fly that shouldn't be said. And I think that, I mean, is it great? No, but is the music great? Yeah. I mean, some of those songs
Yeah.
are really good and have a lot of significance. And I
Well, I
think we
bring
shouldn't
up, yeah.
stipulate your freedom of expression, you know?
Yeah, and I mean I brought up the cultural significance because it's generally something along those lines that why it's sticking, you know, like why we still talk like that, or you know, why we rap music still exists as a
And
whole.
why it's so popular.
You know, and it's like there's levels always to everything, right? Layers.
Yeah, some people just get too extreme. And it's like, okay, and some people are under extreme, you could say. It's like we just need to find a happy medium.
Well, I think, you know, everyone's at a different place with learning stuff. Everyone's at a different place with kind of like deciding who they are, what they rock for. And I mean, if we really are social justice warriors, we're just like making space for listening to people, like, and sharing our opinion in a way that doesn't like demoralize or like, you know, people, this cancel culture is like another thing. Like, oh, we're so ready to just be like, you're canceled. You're gone. We're never talking about you again because you made a mistake one time. And I think it was DaBaby. He's like a rapper. Well, let's be real. It was his PR team. But he like did something homophobic and everyone was like, you're canceled. And his PR team like went on his social media and was like, I wish someone would like tell me what I did wrong and then like give me some resources so that I can like not be an asshole instead of just being like, you're canceled, which I feel two ways about it because one, like, you know damn well what you said, but also two, like, you right. Whoever did teach you like how to be a part of or inclusive of the LGBT community, like maybe I doubt someone gave you those tools as like a hetero black man of your age. So I'm like, he's right, but he's also like he's wrong because he knows damn well he shouldn't have said that, but he has a really good point of like how it all works.
Yeah, what do you make of cancel culture? Because that's another dynamic that kind of gets folded into the social justice
Yeah.
scheme.
I think basically like you've got basically like three chances. Maybe not three, depending on what
Three
you
strikes
did.
and you're out. We're going
Kind
baseball
of.
rules.
Kind of. And I also am like, nobody's ever truly canceled, right? So like even someone I used to be like best friends with, where maybe we had a falling out or like maybe we're not as close anymore. It's like you don't not exist to me anymore. Like if I see you, we're still in community together, especially like in this tiny little community. Like I'm going to see you at the grocery store or at the farmer's market. So it's like I always wave and say hello, but maybe I don't want to sit down and have the picnic with you, or whatever. And I kind of feel like that way with famous people. It's like you can cancel whoever you want. There's always somebody that still likes that person. Like
Yeah, but I think it stems more into the monetary aspect of bringing them down, right?
yeah. Well, it's like so
It's
if
not so much they don't exist. It's I'm gonna
yeah.
tear down your life, and you can still exist, but you're gonna suffer. I want to
I
watch you
know, but let's be
suffer.
real. So like Chick-fil-A, we don't shop at Chick-fil-A. They're anti-queer. I'm a queer person. Or like Hobby Lobby. I do not shop at Hobby Lobby.
What's up with Hobby Lobby?
They're like also just like super Anglo Christian queers are bad type folks. So I don't really shop there either. But that's an easy thing to do because lots of things like Hobby Lobby exist, and I'm also like they have no idea that I stopped shopping there. Like it does not affect them. Whereas like the same thing could be said as for the Nike shoe, like we said
I
earlier.
was
Like
just thinking that
the
as you were
same
talking about
thing
that.
falls into it. It's like I could choose to not buy Nikes anymore, which I should do. Will they notice? No. But my social justice warrior conscious will feel better. But do I? No, because I value the Nike shoe more than I value Hobby Lobby or Chick-fil-A. Crazy.
It's a weird separation that we make. Of okay, I'm not gonna compromise on this, but I'm gonna adjust on this one.
Exactly.
And I think cancel culture worries me for sure. It definitely worries me. It's I think your approach of okay, we need to talk and provide these resources and just have a conversation with the person. I think that's a far better route than
Well, at least
we're just
like
gonna shit on them for
for
what
the first time, like
That's a good point, right? If they keep doing the thing is we are people and we're always learning.
yeah.
And to expect that somebody's going to be perfect 100% of the time is ridiculous. That reminds me of the Will Smith slap.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yes, I saw it.
When I first saw that, I was like, "Fuck Will Smith. That guy's a piece of shit. That was a bitch move. We should you can't just go slap somebody cuz you got offended and I was kind of just shitting on him in my head. I wasn't really talking to anybody about it, but in my head I was shitting on him and I really liked him. I thought he was a great actor. I thought he's an extremely motivational guy. I watched a lot of his videos that are out online in regards to his motivational talks and stuff. And it just flipped. And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck this guy. You can't do that. You can't do that. And then as I kind of progressed, I started thinking about it. And I was like, yes, it's definitely not okay. He shouldn't have done that. That's not justifiable. And that was a man in a moment of weakness who I think is severely struggling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think it reflects that he's not okay.
But I don't think I can hold that over him for the rest of his life because he fucked up.
Yeah.
And I've fucked up a lot in my life. And if somebody looked at who I was or the things that I've done, they might have conceptions about me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody could say that. And yet we all want that forgiveness and the acceptance of, okay, I'm a different person today than I was yesterday. And I'm trying to be a better person tomorrow. And I think that I started extending that to him when I realized, okay, We all make mistakes. It was fucked up. Shouldn't have happened, but he fucked up.
Yeah.
And now if he goes out and does it again, then you could say, oh, okay, this is now, that's...
See, I think both of them fucked up. Like, Will, you absolutely reacted before you thought. But also, like, Chris Rock, stop shitting on people for things they can't control. Like, make
But he's a
better
comedian.
jokes.
To be fair, yeah, it wasn't the best joke. It wasn't the best joke.
I mean, I just feel like as a comedian, your job is to make jokes about, like, you know, things we all experience, but to be like, ha ha ha, you're bald because you have a disease. I just think that's like borderline not that funny. That's like being like, ha ha, you're fat, or ha ha, like your hair's purple or something. And I mean, I don't know. It'd be one thing if like she was dressed also like she was in Mad Max or something. I don't know.
G.I. Jane.
Oh yeah, that's what he said. But Mad Max also
Works.
Yeah.
Charlize Theron.
But I just feel like it could have been better executed, and
It definitely could have been a better joke.
And
it wasn't great.
And then it was also just like, I don't know. There was just a number of things where I'm like, both y'all out of pocket. Like, Will Smith, sit down. You cannot just smack people. It'd be one thing too if they were like close to each other and he kind of like reacted or something, but he like got up out of his seat and like walked up to go.
And Chris Rock was not expecting it.
And he's like,
He
"What?"
just stood there.
But I'm also like, don't come out your mouth about anybody. That's what happens. Like, when you say things about people that are not desirable or...
Yeah, but that still doesn't justify violence, right? If I say something and it makes you
it'd
mad...
be one thing if he pulled a gun. Like, he got smacked with like 4 fingers on Will
Yeah, but
Smith's
what if
face.
that was a girl that made that joke and Will Smith slapped her? That would be a problem.
I agree.
That
He
would be a
shouldn't be
problem.
hitting anybody. But when you open your mouth to talk about people, you're creating a space for them to react to what you said.
Oh,
and
I
I
agree.
think that's fair.
I agree with that 100%.
And I'm just saying that I'm not saying either of them are right or wrong. I'm just saying that both of them did a thing that could be a reaction, because Chris Rock could have hit Will Smith back also. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they both reacted. They could have reacted, excuse me. Will Smith did react, and I think he reacted poorly. But I'm also like, if that was a stranger on the street who was like, yo, your face sucks, you have the potential to get hit, like, for saying that. Like, maybe it's different because they're where they were or like who they are, but
Well, I think it's even if it was a guy just walking down the street,
you just always
it's
have
a
the
problem.
potential.
Yeah, but that doesn't. That's not a justification, right? The potential.
I didn't say it justified it. I'm just saying that when you do something towards someone, anything can happen in response.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say around free speech, right? You have the freedom to say whatever you want to say, but you also better be prepared
Someone
to deal
could
with the
come and
repercussions of
just
that.
kick you, like,
Which I don't, in no way.
Which I don't think it's right, and that's why, like, so say I was like talking trash on somebody on the street corner or whatever, someone comes and beats me up, and I'm like, damn, yo, you beat me up because I was being cruel to you. I'm upset about it. Now I'm gonna press charges against you. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think Chris Rock should have done something against Will Smith, press some charges, because you can't set that precedent that this is okay.
Yeah, I also think we have no idea what kind of relationship they have with each other. So I'm like,
I can't imagine it's good after that.
Well, no, I just mean in general, like, this could have been something boiling between them for a while. So, like, Chris knew he was, like, extra pushing the button when he said it.
But that was such a tame joke. I mean, he could have said some wild stuff about her in August or any number of things, and he went with the G.I. Jane. I mean, how long have guys been clowned for being bald? Like, I thought that was just a light thing.
Yeah, I mean.
And to slap on live TV like that
Good.
isn't... What? That is so crazy.
For all of these people.
That is so crazy.
I'm
don't
also
know.
like, Will Smith's in a whole place. I don't know. He's like in the 5th dimension.
In terms of just where he is in life.
Yeah, like, I think.
Yeah, he's definitely not on, like, we're on a different level than Will Smith.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what he's doing. He's on this path of, like, revelation and finding himself.
I think he needs to cut out Jada to find himself. I think there's some toxicity going on
man.
there.
The table.
Do you watch those?
Sometimes.
I have not. I've heard that some of them are pretty good, but
I mean, I think it's great and it's transformational just because they're having these intergenerational conversations that like most people are not having surrounding mental health or like mental health awareness. And I think that's good. But I have not seen them all. I've just seen some and like I see clips on social media and stuff.
I think their relationship is a prime example of that one and the one with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I think those are prime examples of what can happen if you're not with the right person and you guys are just kind of toxic for each other. It does not play out well.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends. I mean, I feel like those are very different situations because oftentimes we forget that Will Smith and Jada were not together when she had a relationship with whatever his name was.
August. Her entanglement. Is that what she called it?
That's what she called it. That's like, girl, you know you toxic when you said entanglement. But, you know, I think we forget a lot of details of like, you know, I think they are an example of people trying to figure it out, but like in a somewhat healthy manner.
Is it healthy though? I don't think it's all Jada's fault. I think Will has probably been toxic too. I mean, he was a huge movie star. I can't imagine that the home life was stellar. You could be a great person and you could be with somebody and your pairing is just toxic. It's not necessarily one person or the other. It's your two personalities coming together that just does not click. It just doesn't fit right.
I feel that.
I think that's a problem a lot of people fall into.
Yeah. It can be hard to even know what's really ever happening with anyone that lives in the public light as well.
Yeah, because we only get that one perspective, right?
Yeah, because like...
And how hard is that, living in the public light like that?
If I ever was a famous person, I would absolutely want to be like an aliased black famous person. Like the people that like wear masks or like the gorillas.
Like Marshmallow. Or
Yeah, the gorillas. Like you don't even know
prime example.
How tall they are. I mean, no, there's some of their music videos they like pop up in
do they? I always thought it was animated.
There's one, well, they are animated, but there is this one music video they have, which maybe this technique happens in other ones, but there's like a television and it keeps like staticking through channels and it's the actual people rapping. And so you get like this little glimpse of like what they could possibly look like. But generally, yeah, they're those like animations.
Can you see their faces in that?
It's kind of like blurry, but I don't think their aliases are like completely secret.
Locked down.
You know what I mean? But I think that people just don't even go the extra mile to like.
That would be the way to do it, where you could still walk outside and have some anonymity.
Yeah, and just be a normal person.
Yeah, just for a little while.
Yeah.
Just going to the grocery store, cutting your lawn.
Yeah.
Just do normal things instead of having a camera on you 24/7.
God, I can't even imagine.
I think that definitely messes you up. I don't know if it could not.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was like, absolutely. I mean,
just think about how much public attention how many eyes, how many comments.
I think it depends too. Like, I feel like a lot of like medium level famous people like lead somewhat normal or left alone lives.
Like news reporters, like lower level stuff.
Or I was thinking even like who's a good one? Oh, geez. I don't know who, but like a famous person in movies, Pixar, I don't know, whatever, Disney, but they just like never fully took off, you know, but they're making like good already. Have you ever seen Even Stevens?
Yeah.
The sister from Even Stevens.
Prime example. That is a great example. She's making like YouTube videos or something though now.
She makes good money. She probably has a tiny following of fans that watch her YouTube. So she's still like making good money.
But she could go out in public and be fun.
Hell yeah, at the grocery store now.
Shia Labeouf, that guy's gonna get mobbed everywhere.
Women are mad at him.
Oh, are they? Why?
He was like being abusive to Sia, and then again to KF. What's her name? FKG Twigs or something.
Whoa, we're just throwing out letters now. FKG Twigs? What?
Her name is something like that. She's an artist, a singer. FW something. She has an acronym with Twigs in her name somewhere like that. Someone knows who I'm talking about. But they all like came out and were like, Shia doesn't have like he needs to pay attention to his mental health and he needs to take care of himself. Otherwise, he has like these abusive tendencies. And yeah,
I didn't know that.
that's what they were saying.
He. Did you ever see the movie Fury that came out with him and Brad Pitt and Logan Lerman?
I don't think so.
Pretty good movie.
Oh, wait.
World War II.
Oh, no,
They're
I
like
didn't
a
see that.
tank
No.
unit. I read an article back when that came out that he was like super hard to work with and that
Oh,
everybody on set hated him. Him and Brad Pitt, I think, almost got into a fight on set. He wasn't showering or something in order to prepare and like
Yeah.
was, you know,
Just-
method acting.
That's what I say. Everyone has these issues with these method actors because I'm pretty
Who's
sure
who's that other guy that always comes up with method acting? He played the
Uh,
Joker.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jay Leto.
Jared Leto.
They had like complaints about him, and then I guess Joaquin Phoenix also does
Great
it.
actor though. That
But
guy is
notice how every
phenomenal.
method actor is
It's crazy.
amazing, an amazing actor,
And crazy.
and
I think all of those people,
and also not
Joaquin
fully
Phoenix
there.
seems like he might be the only one that's like,
Have
okay,
you
you can sit
seen
down
his
with him.
mockumentary?
No.
Oh my god! Go watch the Joaquin Phoenix mockumentary. It's Raising Phoenix. Is that what it's called? God, I don't know. That might be an actual movie of his, but ultimately, it's about a famous person that goes crazy, but he's trying to say like this is his life. Like this is what it's like to like be in the shoes of Joaquin Phoenix, and like this is what my day-to-day life is like. But you later find out, not in the movie, but just like through articles and stuff about it, that it's basically like a spoof on the life of a crazy actor or a famous person. And he just does wild stuff in this mockumentary.
And he was saying, hey, this is my life.
But he was like, hey, like the cameras are following him around like it's a real documentary. And I'm absolutely sure it's a social critique from Joaquin Phoenix because he's a genius.
Oh, I'm going to have to watch that.
Yeah.
Great actor. That guy's been in
Yeah.
so many. The Joker, Walk the Line,
Oh, yeah.
Gladiator.
He's just pretty great. I like him a lot. He's in this other movie. I can't think of what it's called, but it's really sad. His son passes away like as a baby or something. It's very sad. But he's great. We love him.
Did you know his brother was actually the star when they were growing up?
Yes.
His brother was super famous.
Yeah, I knew that actually.
I think it might have been River.
And he's passed away.
He died.
Yes.
He died when they
'cause
were
his
young.
sons, yeah.
I think it was River?
Well, yeah, I guess his name would
River?
be Phoenix, but I want to say that his name was River.
Something
or something like that.
out there like
It's a
that.
body of water.
Yeah, and he was famous. I want to say he died late teens, early 20s,
Yeah,
maybe. Something young.
Horrible.
And then Joaquin kind of stepped into the light. Great actor.
Yeah.
Great actor.
I agree. I think he's great. The last Joker it made me hurt for him. I always had a soft spot for the Joker because I was like, he's not well. We know why he does what he does. But Joaquin like really brought it somewhere else where I was like, this poor man, he don't have nobody to check on him or nothing. Like nobody knows this man is like deteriorating.
You kind of empathize with the guy,
Yeah.
right? Did you ever see the one with Heath Ledger?
Yes.
Another great actor.
Awesome.
Another probably
He was a
crazy
method
guy.
actor too, and look,
There's a
it took him.
theme. There's a
I
theme.
know. I think Ethan Hawking is also a method actor. He's like
think
from
I
The
know him.
Mechanic
Okay.
or The Machinist. What is that movie where he like scrubs the floor with bleach because he's like OCD?
I think The Mechanic is Jason Statham.
Okay,
So
well,
maybe
it's like the
Machinist? One of those.
Machinist, maybe something like that with an M. I don't know. I'm bad at movie titles.
He's another one good one. I can't picture the face.
I'm like, what else was he
Yeah.
in? I don't know. In the movie I'm talking about, he's like
In
crazy small and petite, and like he lost all this weight and like went through this transformation to have this role.
I think you have to go to a dark place to be that good of an actor. You have to really be able to disassociate from who you are as a person
Yeah,
and take on this new
I know. Like
identity.
talking about Shia Labeouf, I've
God,
heard
I love him too. He's
horrible
incredible.
things about him, but he's an amazing actor. Like, and he used to just be that annoying kid on even Stevens. Like I
Great
kind of
TV show though.
I
Great
loved
TV
even
show.
Stevens. I did, but I like hated his little like squeal he would do all the time, and I'd be like, ugh. And then he grew up to be like a very handsome man and a good actor, and it's like, whoa, Shia LaBeouf, 360.
I wonder if they could. It would be interesting to see them track a child star, like almost like a video diary type
Yeah.
compilation of them as a child through adulthood, because there's no way, not only the public spotlight of having everybody critique everything you do all the time, but pouring yourself into those roles, and especially
Yeah.
dark ones like the
Or like a
Joker.
child. It's like, maybe I've never even felt this emotion before. And I
Or
have
you're
to emulate it.
That kid, I read in another article that kid from The Shining was pretty messed up, I believe, after doing
Oh
that.
yeah.
That took a toll on him because
I read a
he was
lot of
just a
crazy
kid.
things about The Shining.
Oh,
and-
about the guy that wrote it or directed it?
Just like in general on like what they were doing during filming and stuff, and how like that actress who was the mom, she didn't know about a lot of the things that were supposed to happen, or like they purposely left out information so they could get like genuine fear from her. And so she like was done filming this movie and was like, what the fuck, I'm traumatized.
Maybe it was her. Maybe I'm thinking of her. That would be so fucked up though. Hey, we're gonna just be ready for this scene. We're not gonna tell you what happens, but you'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they even said that. I think they were literally like, okay, like you're gonna run down the hall, you're gonna scream, you're gonna lock the door, and like sit on the floor. And then, because the article I was reading was talking about the scene where Jack Nicholson is like,
Here's
hitting-
Johnny.
Yeah. So they were like, just stay there against the wall, and then the axe came, and so naturally she was like, what the fuck? And they were like, great shot. Like,
Could you imagine? Hey, just lock the door, and then we'll cut. We'll
Yeah.
wrap the scene. And somebody starts beating down the door with an axe. I
axe.
would be shitting my pants.
she probably did.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably took a couple takes. They're like, well, the first one, could you not release any body fluids and we'll be okay. I would be willing to bet that Jack Nicholson is another method actor, because that guy seems a little crazy too.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, and he's had some great roles. So, and he's done a little bit of everything.
Maybe there's something to that.
I mean,
If you want to get to that level.
yeah, if you can, I mean, I can imagine as a method actor, you can unlock, like you said, some dark places or some like untapped areas in your brain, but then it's like, how do you put it away?
How do you put it away? How do you come back from that? Do you think they lose part of their identity
I know.
in doing that, right? Because if you're
Who
taking on
knows?
these other roles and pretending to be these other people, do you think that at some point
Or like,
you start wondering, who the
Yeah,
fuck
who
am
am
I?
I?
Yeah.
or
Where
like,
do I come into
do
play
you
in this?
lock away yourself in some little, like most method actors will become that character. So I'm filming for 6
The
months.
whole time.
I'm 6 months. I'm whoever the hell I'm supposed
Go
to
by that name, walk like
Yeah.
that person.
everything. And then it's like, how do you, like you said, come back? So it's like, do I then am like, boop, there's
Okay, now
Mo,
I'm here
back,
again,
I'm
yeah.
back. Like, scene.
How do you relearn your mannerisms too, right?
Crazy.
That would be interesting.
Or like, do you have this category now, like this catalog of characters that you like?
Can just switch to in
Yeah.
a moment.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be Fred today.
yeah, exactly.
He was fun. We're just gonna be this person.
Like
for a
Jared
little
Leto,
while.
he's like, I'll be the Joker today. Deep, let's go.
Yeah, that guy. He's another one that's a little out there.
Yeah, but
A
I
little
love
out
him.
there. Yeah, he's good. Wasn't that what was it? It wasn't Justice League. It was
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. I mean, okay.
I liked it,
was
but
when you compare it to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, you're like,
I mean,
you gotta step it up.
completely different cinematic universe. Let's be
True,
real.
true. God, the Joker though was so good. That standalone movie.
Well, if you think about it too, I mean, Batman in general, they do this all the time where they're like, some of this is an action. Sometimes it's an action movie. Sometimes it's like a drama. Sometimes it's like this cartoon-esque, like comic book reiteration, like Suicide Squad, like bright colors and whatever. And they did that with the Joker and the Batman.
The new Batman?
So like the new
Have
Batman
you
is
seen
the
it?
drama. I have not.
Oh, I've heard good things. I haven't
But
seen
it's
it
like a
yet.
dramatic, dark kind
I've
of
heard it's way darker than the
like
other ones.
reflection on Batman, which I don't know if you are a comic book reader, but there's like a series of Batman comic books that are graphic novels, and they're like very much like dark and dramatic and like a more mature storyline of Batman, and like it's super intentional with like like the lettering and the illustrations are like very adult and dark or whatever. So that's what I feel like these Heath Ledger and Walking Phoenix Joker and like whatever the man in the Batman is now, I don't know his name.
Robert Pattinson.
Okay, I was like, I just know he's from Twilight. But
The vampire guy.
Yeah, the vampire guy. Whereas like who was Batman just recently? Brad
Ben
Pitt.
Affleck.
Oh, Ben Affleck, that's his name. I was like one of those hunks from the 90s. He was like at the action one, like same thing like Rubber Nipples, Michael Keaton, like just like,
Old school.
like you know, like an action movie.
Did you ever see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I don't think so.
That's a great movie.
That's like about.
It's about this actor who has this, hit TV show and then kind of starts going away and he starts kind of fading and his career's not really going anywhere, and then he gets. I'm not doing this any justice. I'm realizing as I'm saying this. I'm gonna keep talking. And then he kind of picks back up steam, and it's just the setting is Hollywood back in the 80s, I believe. It's just a really Quentin Tarantino movie. Are you familiar with any of his films?
Well, yeah, I love Tarantino. I think this is like kind of new.
I think it came out in 2018.
Oh,
so
yeah.
relatively, it's the past few years.
So I kind of fell off Tarantino.
Okay, why? Another crazy guy, but is great at what he does.
I know. Maybe, artistry is tied to mental wellness. But I fell off of him for a number of reasons. I felt like his storylines were just kind of falling off and repeating themselves, which obviously, everyone might have some lows and everyone has some highs. So I could have just seen something that I was like, this isn't for me. Because like most things of his I love, like Pulp Fiction,
great movie,
Kill Bill, and then a lot of the newer things, he was having, I just wasn't really there for them, and so I did not see that one. But now that you say it's Tarantino, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that was that movie I remember coming out, and I just feel like maybe his time has come and gone, but maybe I should see that movie.
I would recommend that one. It was a pretty good movie.
Okay.
It's worth checking it out.
All right. I mean, now with the streaming capabilities, it's like it ain't a thing to watch a movie.
I know. How great is that?
Yeah, I love that, actually.
How can we have war when you can just stream whatever you want?
I know. How are you upset when there's like...
Why are we fighting?
Yeah.
Just give everybody some internet.
Yeah.
A cell phone, and
if everyone could have some internet, relax. Some food... Maybe everyone doesn't have to work 40 hours a week anymore. And
that would be nice.
Yeah, or even just like a smooth 4-day work week.
It's weird that we settled on 5, right? That we just decided, okay, there's 7 days in a week, and you know what? We're gonna work 5.
Most of them, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the idea was that the people at the top are working 10 days a week while the rest of us or 10 days a year.
I was gonna say 10 days a week. We're on a different timeline.
Yeah, he's like, where do you live? Yeah, like 10 days a year, maybe a month a year they work. And then the people under them, they get 3 months, and then all the way down to the entry level, we have to do the 5 days.
I hope that with all this automation, I think we have the potential to get to a spot where a lot of people don't have to work as much.
Yeah.
I think that's really possible.
And I think too, like remote working people
just makes sense.
Yeah.
Why go sit in an office in a cubicle that's 2 feet by 2 feet and you're just cramped and hating life when you could just work at home and do the same, as long as you can do the same job and it's not, if you're a plumber.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't really do that.
Yeah. But exactly, if you're a computer person, especially like I used to go to the office and I would just sit there a lot of the time, play on my phone a little bit, waiting for someone to call, waiting for an email to drop, or like, I'd get to work and the first 2 hours I'd be like super busy because I'm finishing things up, and then I'd be like waiting, for someone to respond or something, where it's like I'm at home, so I'll be like, oh, okay, like I'll clean the kitchen or something, and then at the end of the day, I'll go back on the computer. Like, I'll still do my 8 hours, but it's not like the 8-hour chunk where when I'm in the office, I'm like, anything that happens between 9 and 5, like, I'm working on today. Whereas when I'm at home, I'm like, I can do all the functions. And then at the end of the day, I can, like, spend my 2 hours that I have left from the day or whatever, doing whatever,
Yeah, hang with your
whatever it
kids,
is.
just being happy, reading a
Yeah.
book,
I'm
doing
like, I can
something.
go for a walk right now. Oh,
Yeah.
nothing's happening. I think I'll go for a walk, or I'll make lunch, or like,
It just makes sense. There's no reason, as long as people can manage getting their work done and can do it from home. Why
productivity has
not?
probably gone up
Oh, I
because people
bet.
are like having snacks and like don't have to wake up to like catch the bus to go to work.
I think they said back towards the beginning of COVID when it happened that people were actually working more because they were at home.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I fell into that trap as well, where I was like,
But it was like, what else can you do?
what
You
can
couldn't
I
leave
do?
your house.
Like, I
so-
can't leave. There's nothing to do. And then when it got a little bit nicer out, it'd be like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna like go to the river or something. But for the most part, it'd be like, there's nothing to do. Like,
Might as well work.
I'm just gonna work.
Yeah.
Like, or it's like, I don't really feel that great today, but why am I gonna take the day off if I can like work from bed anyways?
Yeah, we would definitely have to watch out for that, right? Because you wouldn't want the workplace to start encroaching on your home life. Where it's like, okay, well, now it's a Saturday. I guess I could work because I'm just sitting at home. You
Yeah.
don't want to get to that point because then we're going back to those 10-day work
Yeah,
weeks.
I know. No, I agree. I also was a victim to that too, where
Mhm.
like having an office, there was boundaries. Like, I did not look at my work email all weekend. One of my board members used to always be like, Mo, you have the best boundaries. And I'd be like, yeah, because once I leave this building,
I'm gone.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not thinking about y'all until tomorrow morning when I
This
come
world
back.
doesn't exist to me anymore.
Nope. And then all weekend, it's gone. And then like the pandemic started, so I got like the email app on my phone and stuff. And I'm like, oh no, where are the boundaries? Where does it end?
And it gets addicting. I don't know about for you, but for me, I can easily slip into where I'm just checking my email all day.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah.
it's a weird endorphin rush of, oh, I got to
Yeah.
respond to this
Oh,
email.
let me
right?
read this. Let me
There's no
respond to
time.
this. I know.
Yeah,
Yes, that exists in my
we would
life.
have to watch out. Yeah, for that. That would be a big one.
We're souped up on productivity, always.
Well, it's ingrained in us,
Yeah.
which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think being productive, if you find something fulfilling that
That's
entails that productivity,
Yes,
that's
I
the
agree.
key. If you're
That is
just
the key. Yeah,
doing
recognize
being
that
productive
mad
to be
things
productive,
are
yeah.
productive.
You could be,
Taking a nap, productive.
can be, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Working 23 hours cannot be productive.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
have
right.
a problem with that.
Technically speaking, it's productive, but it's actually not. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
be real.
Yeah, I think we could manage that though, and I think that's a good start. Is just let people work from home. There's
Yeah.
no reason. It saves office overhead.
Well, yeah, that's
It
another
saves
thing. Yeah,
money
low
on
cost.
low cost people are working from home
Or
as
even
long as they
if
have
you
the stuff
fronted everyone's Wi-Fi bill or half of it, say.
or provided a computer for them if
Yeah.
they didn't have one. Or
I think those are less expenses then.
I think it's a good step. I mean, some of the tech companies are, I know, sticking with that. I think Twitter's
Oh, yeah.
staying.
All these places that are like, all our people work on computers. We don't exist
If you
anywhere.
just have a programming job, why?
Yeah.
You're just gonna go to work to sit on your computer when you could sit on your
Yeah,
computer at
at
home.
home.
What is how does that make sense?
They just like send you a card for printing every now and then.
Yeah, but you don't need to be in the office.
Yeah.
You're okay. Maybe once a week you could do a team meeting. I guess that would
Yeah.
make sense.
I will say though that everyone has different like learning or work styles. So like for people that are like some people are like don't get anything done at home because they're like I'm distracted. So I feel for those people and like needing in-person meetings or something like that. But yeah, like twice a week, that's not bad. Everyone comes to the office twice a week. We'll have
That's
all the
pretty good.
meetings we need, and then that's it.
Yeah, I think this is a start. I think as long as that sticks around, I think it would be a good start.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we do need to get to a point, with AI and with automation, I think we could do a lot of good. Because there's no reason to work if you don't have to, right? We would have to figure out a different monetary system
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
universal basic income has been thrown around.
But
wouldn't that be better for everybody?
But then I'm kind of like, if we're doing universal income, why even have the money to begin with? Like, basically, like everyone gets like maybe you turn 18, right? And you get a job or I had a job when I was 15. That was cool. And there was like regulations. I couldn't work more than like 20 hours or something. But like I don't know. I don't know how it would work. Like you get a chip or something or like a bracelet that says like I'm in the club. I can come to the grocery store. Like I contribute, so I should get stuff. But I'm like, if everyone makes the same amount of money, I guess I'm just confused why it exists. Like why can't you just go everywhere then and get what you need?
Well, money's a weird thing.
I
When you
know.
start diving into that wormhole, it's easy to get lost.
Cuz I'm like if we all can afford everything, then what's the point?
And the idea, I think the government printed 70% of all the money in circulation in the past 3 years. Like during COVID, they
Yeah.
printed like 70% of what? We could just print this and we're gonna give $40 billion away, and we can't
Yeah.
use,
See?
I don't know, maybe $1 billion to fix up schools and fix up the roads. That would be
Anything, the
great.
roads, yeah.
Provide some after school support. Do something.
Something. The
Free
fact
education.
that
How about
teachers
that?
make like $30,000 a year,
Kind of
but
crazy.
and they work for like 7 hours a day, and then they have on top of that like 4 hours of prep and finish stuff. Like,
And they don't have enough money to buy
and they have no
markers.
money. Yeah. They have
Yeah.
to buy their school supplies themselves. They do fundraisers. Like,
Come on.
ridiculous.
We could fix that.
Print the
Just-
money.
Yeah, print the money. We know you can. We've seen it now.
Or 3D print them all the supplies they need.
What do you think about all that artificial intelligence stuff? Are you familiar with any of that?
I mean, not really. I mean, it's coming. I can't help.
It's already here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have
Quite
you
frankly.
seen?
They have those cars that drive themselves.
Well, have you seen? It's Kendrick Lamar's new music video.
Oh, where he's switching
The heart part.
faces?
Oh my god. Have you seen that?
I have to look at my phone because I have children. I did not see the music video. I saw everyone on the internet talking about it, of course, because Kendrick's the GOAT. But I mean, it's just. Have you ever seen Oh my god, I can't even think of the name now. But it's basically about CI informants. It's an old school show. It's like from the early 2000s. But they talk about facial recognition software, and like that Kendrick Lamar is like exactly that. They like took someone's face and put it on his face.
Oh, it's crazy. It's Will Smith. It's Jussie Smollett. It's
Oh yeah, and then he's Jay-Z.
Jay-Z,
right?
he is,
He's
oh,
OJ.
OJ. I could not think of OJ's name for some reason.
Juice.
Oh my god, it's crazy. I saw that and I realized, oh yeah, we're at a point now where you're not going to be. You already couldn't trust everything online, but now you can't even trust videos because
Oh,
somebody's going to
yeah.
record a video of Biden saying some wild shit.
Or like I think about, have you seen AI? Speaking of Will Smith.
Uh-uh.
You've never seen AI?
I have not seen AI.
Oh my gosh. That's like class. I guess I don't know how old you are, but that's like
I'm only 24, so I'm
Oh,
limited.
okay. So, yeah, cuz I'm 31. So
Okay.
I'm like little gap there. So, it was a movie out when I was probably like 10 or 13, and it's all about how society is leaning on robots, AI, artificial intelligence for everything, like police officers.
Is this iRobot?
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Not
Okay,
AI.
I was
yeah,
gonna say. Okay. I was
AI
like,
is
this
another
sounds
one
like
though,
exact-
where
Oh, that's another movie.
artificial intelligence basically gets adapted to the point that they have a subconscious and they try to take over, you
Gonna
know,
have to
the
watch
human
that.
race. But
Well-
iRobot, the same thing happens. The police cop
That's coming.
goes rogue.
That's coming.
And they're like, how the hell did that robot go rogue? And Will Smith is like, I've been telling you all that the robots are going rogue. And
Or
no one
Ex
listened to me.
Machina. Have you seen that one? Scared me.
Yeah, I've
that
seen
one freaked me
one.
out when I saw that.
All of that. I'm like, why?
If it's not here, it's gonna be here.
Yeah. Or like they did there's been like a UFO convention that happened in the
For Congress, right?
Yeah. And
What's your take on that?
I mean, we all knew it to be true. Let's be real. Like just thinking in the scheme of like science.
And how big space is?
There's no fucking
You're
way
telling
we're
me-
the only people
It's
or
constantly
organisms.
expanding, but this is the only planet
that
in
anything.
billions of billions of billions of planets.
Yeah.
No, this is the only one that has life. That's
Exactly. It
it.
just doesn't
It's just empty.
doesn't compute, especially if they're trying to say that like there's multiple universes that mimic ours, and so then it would be safe to assume there is an Earth there that houses organisms. or
And
whatever.
multiple parallel universes is what they're saying too.
Yeah. So I'm like, I knew we weren't alone. And my thing was like, they were all like, at one point, they're like, it's been over 100 sightings of things in the air that we do not have the technology to support. Like, we don't know how it's happening, whatever. And they're like, so, like, you just weren't going to tell anybody? And they were like, in all honesty, we were like low key thinking, like, maybe it's Russia or maybe it's China. And then they're having like this meeting with multiple nations, and China's like, nah, it's not us. And Russia's like, nah, it's not us. And they're like, but is it really not you? And you
Are
just
you lying?
don't
You
want
can
us to
tell
know
us.
that you have this technology, or like we really like need to decide if this is what this is. But yeah, they were saying like in the last 10 years, there's like over 100 instances that have been caught on camera or video or seen by like our Air Force and stuff and our military that have been like, we don't know what that is.
It's so frequent now that they have a new reporting system in, those fighter jets where they can just report it from the cockpit and
Right.
fill out a form or something on their screen or whatever and send it right off right then and there. What?
Yeah. And I'm like, if we are one of few planets to house life, and these other beings are smarter than us or somehow able to see what we're doing, they're coming to take our planet from us. Like, let's be real. They're going to be like, we would like that. You guys are ruining it completely. You could just exist and eat apples. Instead, you guys like made capitalism, and we're going to come take it from you because the resources here are rich. Like, and like our planet as a planet, forget all of us living here. Like, it does dope stuff. It does.
And the argument can be made that it'd be a lot better without us.
I mean,
You could make
yeah.
the argument.
If there was just animals and plants, things would be great.
Do you think if they are coming here, you think it's to kind of clean house?
I mean, I have no idea. I hope not, because I'm not trying to be. I can't help but think of all the bad things I've seen. Like, you know what I mean? Because we've always made the idea of
in every movie,
other life coming to like take us or like make us slaves or eat us or something. So I can't help but have those thoughts. But I mean, ideally, I would love them to come and be like, we will just make your life better for you.
Yeah, they just come to share the technology, right?
Yeah, and help
we're gonna
us
help
like
you guys out.
heal the earth and like develop our society past what we are. That'd be dope.
I kind of, for a while, I thought maybe they were just coming to spectate. Like, you know how we watch animals or
Yeah.
those tribes in like the Indian Ocean that haven't been contacted for
Yeah.
hundreds of years, and we kind of just watch them, but from a distance, and we don't really interfere with them. I kind of thought maybe that's what if I was being idealistic, I would say,
Yeah.
okay, they're just watching.
Or if you thought about it, like, what would we be doing if we stumbled upon a planet that could have, or anytime we find a planet, what do? We go and poke
Take
around.
that shit over. That's gonna.
I know, right? We suck. But no, like
Mars,
we go to
here we come.
Mars. We send the rover to Mars to
Yeah.
do like to get information on Mars. Like we didn't do anything bad to it yet. So.
But there's no life there, and there's nothing
True.
really good there. If it was shit was popping off on Mars and that looked like the
know.
place to be,
Humans are so greedy.
we'd be there. Oh, we can wrap this up. We've done.
I know.
like
We've just
a solid,
been chatting.
Yeah, we've done a solid
I know. I was
2
like,
hours.
wait, I have all these text messages.
Do you want to plug where people can find you, where they can find Black Humboldt?
I know, right? This was a Black Humboldt interview that segued very quickly to a Mo interview.
Those are the best podcasts.
Yeah. Black Humboldt at blackhumboldt.com or at Black Humboldt on socials. Juneteenth is June 19th.
Right around the
every
corner.
year. Community wide, no exclusive events. We're doing events from that Thursday through Monday.
Where at?
All
Just
over
around
the
town?
place.
Okay.
So like some in Eureka, some in Arcata. The Plaza, it will be our main like celebration though on the 19th. And it'll be just fun and music, food, maybe a beer garden, like
Okay.
fun in the sun,
All right.
And then Black Humboldt doesn't really do any activism. We're just like we're just pretty much a club. Like, come hang out. But if you are interested in finding out more about like activism in Humboldt, My social media is mo_hd_create707. And I do lots of like social work in the community, like as an individual. So anytime someone wants to see if something's happening, you can probably find it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mo. I had a great time
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
with you. That was a
thanks.
lot of fun.
I know. I'm glad we could delve into all the things happening in the world right now.
Yeah, that was awesome. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that.
Good.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.